The 360 on Energy and Carbon, hosted by 360 Energy. 360 Energy is a North American leader in energy and carbon reduction. Recently, we have launched the 360 Carbon Excellence Program, designed to make corporate climate change actions more effective and successful. For more information, check the link in our podcast description. Welcome back, Dave and John.
Good to be back. Been a bit of a break.
Yeah, John, we're ready to hear a little Italian and answering the questions. So we'll see how that
Well,
goes.
I don't know about that.
So today we will be talking about our Carbon Excellence Program, and I'm sure both of you are really excited about this. This is something you've been working on for such a long time. So to start this episode off, why was a Carbon Excellence Program created?
I think you could say there's a number of things that have caused the programme to be created. Clearly, the issue of climate change and doing something about carbon is the thing that brought it to the fore. But then once that problem's there, we were looking at the people we work with and we were realising that there wasn't really a good programme to help somebody, support them and provide them with sort of progress of how they're doing and motivation to go forward. Options of extensive reporting and other things like that, but not so much something that could be stepped and guide you and show you where you're going. So that's really what created it. And I think if I can add another bit to that, the fact that we had realised, or we knew it anyway, but the fact that energy is still a key thing when we're talking about carbon, and a lot of the lessons that we've learned from helping people to be more energy efficient, they translate over to carbon excellence.
Yeah, and I think, as you said, Lysandra, we have been working on this for at least 2 years. I'll just add to what John said. I think when we talk to people in organizations, they know they need to do something, but they really don't know what it means. They also think it's really expensive, and they don't know who to turn to. And as John indicated, this program is kind of a guide on what to do, but also what's really important, it engages a variety of people in the organization, from the board to the executive to middle management to people who are on the floor level. So far too often we see this activity, whether it's energy or carbon, it tends to be one department, and that's fine. But even that one department needs help to make sure it gets done and it's sustainable. And I'm really proud and pleased with what we have now, that it's something that will fully engage and create a progressive activity for organizations to participate. And by the way, this is not just a Canadian program. We are going worldwide on this program. So certainly we'll be doing a lot of activity in Canada initially, but we expect to be doing some work in the UK and Australia, New Zealand as well, as far as focus. So, and the United States. So I think that the current indications from talking to clients is there's a void in the marketplace, and to actually make and help clients go down this pathway. And I believe this program that we've developed will go a long way to help organizations. And that's thanks to my team. And, John has been in the forefront. He's been using a lot of knowledge that he or we have gained by looking at international practices. So this will be a big opportunity for clients to actually advance their work in this field.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect time for a program like this. What's the goal and the mission of the Carbon Excellence Program?
Well, the goal, truthfully, is to achieve a measurable, whether it's intensity or absolute reduction in carbon emissions. And we're using the baseline of like net zero by 2050. But that doesn't happen overnight. A lot of times people are making, okay, we're going to do this, but they really don't have a plan. So the intent is to really advance and achieve that measurable and see where they're going along the way. That being said, one of the most important things is, how do you get there? What are the steps that you need to take? And the program actually offers that pathway, that mapping of what to do and how to do it to actually achieve those reductions. Do you want to add anything, John?
Yeah, I think the goal and the mission. Yeah, the goal is to end up emitting less carbon dioxide as a result of the work that we're doing. We want, we're a business. We want to make money with this, but we want to achieve something worthwhile. We believe that can be there. And I think the mission of it is something that Dave and I have often talked about. We don't want companies and organizations to think that carbon reduction, carbon management, net zero is a side issue. It needs to be something that becomes integrated in the company and becomes part of the way of doing business. So I think one of the things I would say, yeah, our mission, we would love to see the people we're working with achieving a measurable performance improvement in their carbon emissions and doing it by an integrated, holistic approach that makes their business better overall.
And the last thing is we want to engage more parties that don't know what to do or really can't, they're not getting the transparency of when they're doing the work, be able to demonstrate that they are doing their work and they're having a third party actually reviewing and confirming that they actually are taking action. So we want to get it to the larger marketplace to start participating in this because we have to. That's what has to be done.
Now, you've both already kind of outlined this, but directly, how will joining this program benefit companies?
Okay, how will it benefit them? It will provide them with a pathway, provide them with a structure. It provides them with a cost-effective approach of dealing with carbon. It provides them with the means to be, shall we say, better educated about carbon. It'll help them understand what a lot of the greenwashing and other stuff that's going on around carbon. It will also make them realise that they don't have to rush out and commit to net zero today. In fact, that may not be the best thing for them to be doing. They will understand what are realistic targets for their business, what their business needs to do to improve. It will be a business improvement program for them.
It will engage people in their organizations and it will create this motivation because there's a sort of a gamification where you actually can see how well you're doing in comparison to other people. And I always find personally that triggers people's interest on getting better in comparison to other people as well.
I do want to add that for companies that haven't started any sort of carbon tracking, I think a program like this is really beneficial because you really get to see your entirety of your journey. And there's going to be tracking and there's going to be progress and there's going to be a company that's helping you along the way. And 360 Energy is an expert in this industry. That's really beneficial for something or someone who, doesn't really know the carbon industry at all.
Yeah, I think another point that's important that we don't want to miss is part of what we're doing with this program is participants will effectively be provided with something that they can share with stakeholders to show what they're doing. At the moment, I'm going to be careful, I'm not going to name the programs, but there are one or two, shall we say, accreditation type programs out there that are very heavy on the admin, require a lot of effort from somebody to produce the reports for them, and require a lot of effort from somebody to look at them and understand what's going on. We don't want to compete with those kind of programs. They have a place. What we want to do is provide something that is more dynamic, more flexible. You join this program, you have a choice of how you carve your pathway to sort of reduce carbon, and you learn how to do that, and you will end up having an ability to share that information with internally and externally in in a range of formats that are hopefully easy to understand.
Very important, John, what you just mentioned, because stakeholders certainly will be of interest, and that might be your clients. Quite frankly, it could be a bank that you're working with.
Yes.
And, we know we designed it because board members are now looking to get quick, fast status updates on where they're going as well. So it's to meet the marketplace in such a way, but also simplify it so people understand what they have and what they've done and where they need to go.
On the topic of stakeholders, what types of industries are you targeting with the Carbon Excellence Program?
So we're wide open to this, even though historically our markets have been in the manufacturing side, the greenhouse sector, and municipalities. But we actually think this program is suitable to any particular sector who has an interest in moving the dial on carbon emissions. And certainly if you're targeting as far as expenditure, we see, a client that may spend maybe $100,000, $200,000 on utilities annually, that it still would make sense for this program. And then we also know organizations that may spend $100 million a year on utilities. This makes sense for them as well. So it's targeting individual sites, but it also has the ability of encompassing a corporation or a multi-site scenario as well. So we're not eliminating who it could be approached using this particular program.
I think one of the ways that I would put it is we're not so much selective about what industry somebody's in. What they need to have is the desire to improve. Because quite frankly, if you come onto this program and you haven't got the desire to improve your performance, why are you here? Is what we would say. There needs, above all, there needs to be an appropriate level of commitment and enthusiasm for doing something about it. But what we hope with the program is that can nurture, if you like, the seeds of that enthusiasm and help them grow.
Yeah, an excellent thing that we need to establish, John, and that is we are looking for clients that are prepared and are interested in making this 5-year kind of commitment that they want to move the dial. And as you indicated earlier, this isn't going to be something that they have to do immediately, but there's multiple things that can be done throughout every year to actually move the dial for them. So it certainly is, John said, it's a commitment that we're looking to have and who would be targeted for this type of program.
Yeah, but that's not a scary commitment. I think we've got to make that point about it. It's not one of those, and I think another slight aspect with it, you mentioned earlier, most corporations are trying to do net zero by 2050 or better. That's a long-term program in itself. But one of the other things that's going to happen over this time span to 2050 is administrations in various jurisdictions, they're going to start thinking that they're going to take action. And if you're involved in a program like this, the chances are you're going to be ahead of the curve on what might be required. So, it is a win-win situation if you get involved, and you mustn't be scared by the long-term goal of it. Although that is a challenge, because many businesses, particularly emerging from the pandemic, long-term planning is about 1 or 2 years going forward. But the really successful businesses are the ones that are looking beyond that.
To join the Carbon Excellence Program, does the company need to be a large carbon emitter?
Simple answer, no. They don't have to be a large emitter. They have to want to do something about it. That said, Lysandra, I'm going to say to you, one of the pressures that's going to occur is the larger emitters are probably under more stakeholder pressure than smaller emitters. So there may be a skew towards people who are interested in this kind of program because of that stakeholder pressure. I'm convinced that there's 2 ways that companies are going to become involved in this and have become involved in sustainability as a whole. And it's either because there has been a real champion of sustainability within the company. Interface Flooring is a classic example of that. Or they're in an industry where mounting stakeholder and customer pressure makes them realize they need to do something in order to keep the business.
And I'll give an example of what John's saying. Like 2 years ago, we worked with automotive parts organizations. When we talked about carbon, they kind of like, what the heck are you guys talking about? Now, every time we have a discussion with these automotive parts, they're all about this because it's required by the companies that they're selling to that they have to demonstrate they're doing something. And they're actually asking for a plan for 2050 to get where they're going. So things have changed dramatically to actually engage the marketplace.
Now, let's say a company signs on to the Carbon Excellence Program. Within the company, what types of roles at the company are you targeting?
Well, I think certainly, as John indicated, we're looking for a champion. And, so you would think naturally that would be a sustainability type champion person. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. It could be someone who's in financial that actually wants to now start reporting and demonstrating the efforts that the client is doing. It could be someone who has the energy file. So it's really to help them to demonstrate internally and their stakeholders that they are doing something. It could be a board member. So I don't think it's any specific group.
Yeah, I think there's no one right person. I think that if the champion needs to be somebody who has, shall we say, influence and authority, because there are some strategic elements to carbon management that you need to cover. So I think there needs to be that. But I think what we must emphasize is we know with our performance improvement programs, they work when we engage a wide range of people across different disciplines within the organization.
Now, to end off this episode, how can companies sign on to start or continue their carbon excellence journey?
Well, this is a new program and it's going to be subject to quite a lot of launch activity going forward. Visit our website, arrange to have a meeting with us. We will be providing demonstrations of how the program works, because one of the things we haven't mentioned so far is that this program is going to be driven through a web portal. This is going to provide the interface between the participant, the program, and everything else. It's also where the gamification comes in. And really, you would need to see that to get a feel for it. But in simple terms, make contact with us and we can explain, no obligation. We can explain how it works and what would be required to be part of it.
All right. Dave, John, thank you for your time today.
Sandra, thank you. And I'm really excited with this program because I think it's going to help a lot of clients move and advance their work on carbon emissions reductions and demonstrate to their stakeholders that they're actually doing something. So thanks for this opportunity.
Yeah, it's going to be the future.
And for our listeners, you can find our link and contact information in the description of this podcast. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
That's all for today's episode of the 360 on Energy and Carbon podcast. Thanks for listening. Make sure to check us out on our website at 360energy.net and follow us on LinkedIn at 360energy Inc. Tune in to our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, Anchor, or other listening platforms by searching the 360 on Energy and Carbon. You can watch the video recording and subscribe on YouTube at 360energy Inc. Email us your feedback at podcast@360energy.net or comment on our LinkedIn posts. See you next week.